Modern isotopic analysis has revolutionized physical evidence evaluation in ways that vindicate Pope's original conclusions about recovered materials. Metallic fragments collected from recent landing sites contain elemental ratios that don't occur naturally on Earth, confirming Pope's suspicions about artifacts that 1990s technology could only classify as unusual. Mass spectrometry techniques now provide definitive proof of non-terrestrial origins for materials that were dismissed as inconclusive during Pope's investigations. The shooter trails photograph from Pope's archives has undergone extensive digital analysis using contemporary forensic techniques. Computer algorithms designed to detect image manipulation have confirmed the photograph's authenticity while revealing previously unnoticed details about the craft's propulsion system. The analysis shows energy emissions around the object's perimeter that match theoretical models for exotic propulsion technologies, providing scientific validation for visual evidence that was previously considered interesting but unverifiable. Geographic correlation analysis demonstrates that current UAP hotspots align precisely with locations Pope identified as high-activity zones during his Ministry of Defense tenure. The same military installations continue experiencing elevated encounter rates, with identical craft types appearing at bases where Pope documented similar incidents decades earlier. This geographic consistency eliminates theories about random appearances of experimental aircraft and supports conclusions about systematic surveillance operations. International data sharing has created evidence packages that exceed anything available during Pope's era. Allied military forces now coordinate UAP reporting through secure channels, allowing real-time correlation of encounters across multiple countries. Recent incidents have occurred simultaneously at bases in different nations, involving craft displaying identical characteristics and behaviors within narrow timeframes. This coordination provides evidence for global operations that Pope theorized but couldn't prove using 1990s communication systems. Advanced electromagnetic analysis has documented energy signatures that validate witness reports from Pope's historical cases. Modern instrumentation records specific frequency patterns that affect communications equipment, radar systems, and electronic navigation devices in ways that match exactly the interference effects Pope's witnesses described. The electromagnetic signatures remain consistent across different encounters and geographic locations, indicating stable technology rather than evolving experimental systems. Biological analysis of samples collected from recent landing sites has revealed genetic material that doesn't match any known terrestrial organisms. DNA sequencing techniques that didn't exist during Pope's investigations now provide definitive evidence of non-human intelligence. These samples contain amino acid sequences that suggest alternative evolutionary pathways, confirming Pope's theories about encounters involving beings that evolved under different environmental conditions than Earth-based life forms. Satellite surveillance networks have eliminated the geographic limitations that constrained Pope's ground-based investigations. Contemporary encounters are tracked across intercontinental distances, providing comprehensive flight path documentation that was impossible to obtain during the 1990s. Multiple satellite systems now confirm transoceanic journeys at speeds that exceed known aircraft capabilities, creating irrefutable evidence for the global scope of UAP operations. The accumulation of 2025 evidence demonstrates that Pope's investigative methodologies were remarkably accurate despite technological limitations. His emphasis on witness credibility, systematic documentation, and correlation analysis established procedures that remain standard practice in current UAP research. Modern sensor systems validate conclusions that Pope reached through careful analysis of limited data, proving that these phenomena represent consistent intelligence operations rather than misidentified natural or human-made objects. Current documentation capabilities have transformed UAP investigation from a field dependent on witness testimony to one supported by comprehensive technical evidence. The same phenomena that Pope documented using interviews and basic instruments now generate detailed sensor data, electromagnetic recordings, and physical samples that provide objective validation for encounters that were previously dismissed as subjective experiences. Yet the most significant pattern emerging from 2025 evidence involves the locations where these encounters occur most frequently, revealing a connection that has remained constant since Pope's earliest investigations. The nuclear connection intensifies. Nuclear installations worldwide have become the primary targets for the most sophisticated UAP operations documented in modern history. The pattern represents systematic surveillance that demonstrates intimate knowledge of humanity's most classified defense systems. These aren't distant observations or brief flyovers. Unknown craft are conducting detailed reconnaissance operations at every major nuclear facility across multiple countries, displaying capabilities that challenge fundamental assumptions about global security. F.E. Warren Air Force Base in Wyoming experienced 4 separate UAP incursions between January and March 2025. Each incident involved disc-shaped craft that hovered directly over Minuteman III missile silos, remaining stationary for periods ranging from 20 minutes to over 2 hours. Security personnel reported complete electronic system failures during these encounters, with backup power systems going offline and communication networks becoming completely inoperative. The craft departed only after completing what appeared to be comprehensive scanning operations of the underground missile facilities. The psychological effects on nuclear facility personnel mirror exactly what Pope documented at military installations during the 1990s. Security officers at Malmstrom Air Force Base described feeling observed and evaluated during recent UAP encounters. Multiple witnesses reported receiving telepathic communication attempts that included mental images of nuclear detonations and their global consequences. These consciousness effects weren't random hallucinations, but coordinated messages suggesting the craft occupants understood both the weapon's destructive potential and humanity's struggles with nuclear proliferation. Radar operators at strategic command facilities have recorded objects demonstrating complete familiarity with nuclear weapon deployment procedures. During the April incident at Minot Air Force Base, unknown craft shadowed B-52 strategic bombers during training exercises, maintaining precise formation positions that indicated detailed knowledge of nuclear mission protocols. The objects anticipated flight path changes before they were communicated to bomber crews, suggesting either advanced surveillance capabilities or direct access to classified mission planning data. International coordination between nuclear powers has revealed the global scope of this surveillance campaign. British nuclear submarines report underwater UAP encounters that correlate precisely with surface sightings at their home ports. French nuclear facilities at La Hague experience identical craft appearances to those documented at American installations. Russian nuclear sites report similar encounters, though their government maintains official silence about the incidents. The coordination suggests a single intelligence systematically mapping human nuclear capabilities worldwide. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission received 18 reports of UAP incidents near critical infrastructure during 2024, though officials attributed these encounters to conventional drones. This explanation becomes problematic when examining the specific capabilities demonstrated by these objects. Conventional drones cannot maintain station keeping in 60 mph winds, operate continuously for 8-hour periods without refueling, or generate electromagnetic fields that disable hardened military electronics. The performance characteristics match no existing drone technology, civilian or military. Classified Pentagon briefings reveal growing concern about the national security implications of nuclear facility UAP encounters. Military leadership now acknowledges that these incidents represent potential intelligence gathering operations by unknown forces with advanced technology. Internal documents describe the encounters as systematic reconnaissance of strategic nuclear assets and recommend enhanced security protocols specifically designed to counter non-conventional surveillance threats. The language used in these briefings avoids speculation about craft origins while acknowledging their clear intelligence-gathering objectives. The historical connection between UAPs and nuclear weapons extends back to the earliest days of atomic weapons development. Pope's files contain documentation of similar encounters at British nuclear facilities throughout the 1980s and 1990s. The consistency across 4 decades indicates either the same intelligence maintaining ongoing operations or different intelligences following identical operational procedures. The persistence suggests strategic interest that transcends temporary political or military developments. Malmstrom Air Force Base has become a focal point for understanding the nuclear UAP connection. The 1967 incident where UAPs allegedly shut down nuclear missiles established patterns that continue appearing in contemporary encounters. Recent incidents at Malmstrom involve craft demonstrating identical capabilities to those reported 50 years ago. The objects appear suddenly on radar, hover over missile facilities, affect electronic systems, and depart without responding to military intercept attempts. The consistency indicates systematic operations rather than random appearances. Current military personnel describe psychological effects during nuclear facility encounters that match those documented in Pope's historical cases. Missile launch officers report receiving mental images of global nuclear exchange scenarios during UAP encounters. These visions aren't generalized fears about nuclear war, but specific sequences showing missile trajectories, detonation patterns, and casualty estimates that exceed the knowledge level of personnel experiencing them. The precision suggests external intelligence providing information about nuclear weapons, effects that individual operators wouldn't possess. The frequency of nuclear facility encounters has accelerated dramatically during periods of international tension. UAP activity at strategic weapons sites increased 300% during the 2024 Ukraine crisis and remained elevated through subsequent diplomatic tensions with China. This correlation suggests intelligence that monitors human nuclear readiness levels and responds to changes in global threat conditions. The timing indicates awareness of political developments that would only be available to entities with access to classified intelligence or capabilities for monitoring human decision-making processes. The technological capabilities demonstrated at nuclear facilities exceed anything in current human achievement by vast margins. Objects that can disable hardened electronics, operate in extreme weather conditions, and demonstrate detailed knowledge of classified facilities possess technology that would revolutionize human civilization if it could be understood and replicated. The implications extend beyond military applications to fundamental questions about energy production, transportation, and communication systems. The nuclear UAP connection represents the most critical aspect of the entire phenomenon because it involves direct interaction with humanity's most dangerous weapons. Whether these encounters represent surveillance, intervention, or preparation for future activities, they demonstrate that non-human intelligence possesses detailed knowledge of our nuclear capabilities and maintains active interest in how we manage these weapons. Yet the full implications of these encounters extend beyond strategic concerns to something far more personal and disturbing: the physical toll these interactions have taken on the human witnesses who experienced them firsthand. The health effects cover-up exposed. Military medical records from the 1980s and 1990s contain documentation that government physicians knew they were witnessing something extraordinary but lacked the scientific framework to understand it. Personnel exposed to UAP encounters developed symptoms that defied conventional medical explanation: persistent headaches, neurological changes, and radiation-like effects that appeared immediately after close contact with unknown craft. These conditions were meticulously documented, filed in medical databases, and then classified at security levels that prevented researchers from studying the emerging patterns. Dr. Gary Nolan's Stanford research team has validated what those military physicians observed decades ago, but couldn't comprehend using available medical knowledge. Brain imaging studies of UAP experiencers reveal consistent alterations in the caudate putamen region, the neural area responsible for processing complex information and coordinating motor functions. These changes appear exclusively in individuals reporting close encounters with unidentified craft, creating measurable neurological signatures that distinguish experiencers from control populations. The brain modifications aren't random damage but specific adaptations, suggesting exposure to exotic energy fields that don't exist in normal terrestrial environments. The caudate putamen alterations correspond precisely with symptoms that witnesses in Pope's historical cases reported to military doctors. Personnel described enhanced intuitive abilities, altered perception of time, and increased sensitivity to electromagnetic fields that medical staff dismissed as psychological stress reactions. Modern neuroscience explains these effects as consequences of neuroplasticity changes triggered by exposure to electromagnetic radiation beyond normal terrestrial sources. The brain modifications represent adaptive responses to energy environments that human neurology had never previously encountered. Declassified government medical studies now acknowledge radiation exposure patterns that puzzled military physicians during Pope's investigations. Health records from Rendlesham Forest personnel show radiation levels measuring 3 times higher than background readings, with contamination patterns that didn't match any known nuclear sources. The exposure signatures created medical mysteries that doctors couldn't solve using conventional radiation treatment protocols. Contemporary analysis reveals these radiation patterns match theoretical models for exotic propulsion systems that manipulate spacetime through controlled electromagnetic field generation. The Rendlesham medical documentation reveals physiological changes extending far beyond simple radiation exposure effects. Personnel developed immune system modifications that enhanced resistance to certain diseases while creating new sensitivities to electromagnetic radiation sources. Blood chemistry alterations persisted for years after initial encounters, indicating permanent genetic changes triggered by exposure to non-terrestrial energy sources. These modifications weren't random mutations, but systematic alterations suggesting intelligent design rather than accidental contamination. Modern medicine can finally treat conditions that baffled doctors during Pope's era of investigation. Neurological symptoms previously dismissed as psychological reactions to traumatic stress are now recognized as measurable brain changes requiring specific therapeutic interventions. Electromagnetic sensitivity that physicians considered psychosomatic can be managed using techniques developed for treating electromagnetic hypersensitivity syndrome. Radiation exposure effects that exceeded conventional treatment protocols now respond to chelation therapies and targeted nutritional interventions designed specifically for exotic contamination cases. The systematic suppression of health data represents one of the most disturbing aspects of UAP secrecy policies. Military medical records containing evidence of physiological changes in UAP witnesses received classification levels exceeding nuclear weapons data restrictions. Physicians treating affected personnel received direct orders prohibiting discussion of unusual symptoms or publication of research findings about encounter-related health effects. Medical conferences banned presentations about UAP-related physiological changes, preventing the scientific community from developing effective treatments for affected individuals. Internal documents reveal that government health agencies maintained awareness of UAP-related medical effects decades before acknowledging them through public disclosure. The Centers for Disease Control operated classified databases tracking unusual illness patterns among military personnel exposed to UAP encounters. Department of Veterans Affairs files contain thousands of cases involving neurological symptoms correlating with UAP exposure that were attributed to other causes to maintain operational secrecy. The medical establishment participated in cover-ups that denied proper treatment to individuals suffering from documented physiological effects. Medical records from multiple UAP incidents show consistent patterns of biological effects across different cases spanning several decades. Personnel exposed to triangular craft during the 1993 Cosford incident developed identical neurological symptoms to those experienced by Rendlesham witnesses 13 years earlier. The consistency indicates systematic physiological responses to specific types of exotic energy exposure, rather than random health effects from unrelated environmental causes. Contemporary research into exotic energy exposure has revolutionized understanding of how UAP encounters affect human biology at cellular levels. Quantum field interactions can alter cellular metabolism, modify genetic expression, and trigger neuroplasticity changes that persist long after initial exposure events. These effects occur at molecular levels that conventional medicine couldn't detect using diagnostic technology available during the 1990s. Advanced imaging techniques now reveal cellular modifications that explain symptoms witnesses reported, but doctors couldn't validate using previous medical standards. The Department of Veterans Affairs now recognizes UAP exposure as legitimate cause for service-connected disabilities, opening access to specialized medical care for affected personnel after decades of denial. Treatment protocols developed specifically for electromagnetic radiation exposure are being adapted for UAP-related health effects management. Research hospitals are establishing specialized clinics for individuals suffering from unexplained neurological symptoms that correlate with documented UAP encounters. Long-term studies of UAP witnesses demonstrate that health effects continue evolving for decades following initial encounters.